Hi, everybody in 5th through 8th grade. We finished our research projects last week. It was the last day last week, and I did have a good number of people turn them in. I'm going to say something very brief about them, and then we are going to move on to new, bigger, and better things. With those research projects, there are a good portion of people that kept up each week, that did what they were supposed to, and turned them in successfully last week. If you didn't, um, I still had people that I was trying to talk to, that I've emailed, that I've communicated with, that didn't even do the first steps, that didn't even have their name down with a topic on those topic pages. It is a grade. I emailed everyone who didn't turn in an assignment, and if you got that email from me, please check your email. And if you didn't get it from me, or excuse me, if you did get the email from me because you didn't turn in your assignment, you really need to. It's a grade, it goes in the grade book. I don't like giving anybody zeros. I don't want to give anybody zeros. However, if we did a project for 5 weeks and you didn't do any of it and you didn't turn it in the end, it's disappointing, and you do have to do that work. So that project ran from November 4th through December 2nd. That was last week. I really encourage you to go back, look at the different weeks and the different parts of the assignment, and complete it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. For the people that did, I have started to look at them. I'm going to continue to be looking at them. I wish that we had a way that we could present them and show the hard work that you guys did, because I really appreciate it. And some of you did a really, really nice job. But you are going to get credit for them. I have been going over them, and more about that another time. Now, it's the month of December, and for those of you who have had me for a few years, you know, because I talk about it every year, that the month of December is Computer Science Month. Computer Science Month meaning that it is a month that has been designated to talk about computer science, learn a little bit about computer science, expose kids in all grades, starting in early elementary school up to middle school, which you guys are in, to what coding, computer programming, and computer science is. And every year, if you have had me in class for a couple of years, I usually give a little introduction, a little talk, a little example. And I'm not going to repeat that this year because some of you have now heard it 4 or 5 years in a row. But how important it is in the fact that all digital electronics, all digital things that we use today need to be programmed, need to be coded. It is a huge field that there is a lot of demand for, a lot of really high paying career opportunities for, and that is just going to continue to grow for the future. If you go back in time 100 years, just 100 years ago, which is not that long in terms of human history, there were pretty much no computer programming or coding or programming jobs at all. We could kind of say that some machines had similar things in common, but there were really none is as far as what we have today. Um, in today's world, there are thousands and thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of things that need to be programmed and need people to know how to go about programming them. And to go and learn that in a short amount of time, a day, it's difficult. It takes many years of schooling and being exposed to computer programming and computer science and coding from a young age to really have an opportunity to maybe do that or learn about it or know what it's like for your future. So, what I try to do is give incrementally more advanced lessons in computer science and computer coding. Now, I'm going to show a couple of examples, and we're going to just hear a little bit of a talk for a couple minutes, and then see what we can start doing and what we're going to be doing for the next couple months. Um, in the beginning, all of you have probably remembered doing coding activities that start with things that seem like little mini games where you're just giving directions or assembling blocks to give either a robot, a on-screen character, or something directions in what to do. And that leads to what I teach in middle school, which is block coding, which we can see here on the left side of this page. And if you can see the one leading to the other, that's because learning those beginning steps, the beginning thinking of giving directions to computer programs or machines in really simple ways that even young kids can understand, allows us to then go and see what's been made as far as block coding and a type of coding where it can be assembled blocks that then give more complex and intricate and more advanced directions, and what that can lead to in the future. And I don't get into too much of this by eighth grade, but for those who do go on to do more of these things or maybe learn about more of them on their own, which I'm going to mention a little bit in a second, that leads to what real coding looks like when you think about how apps are made, how video games are made, how computer programs, robots, traffic lights are coded, ATM machines, or anything like that. Even as simple as your TV at home, your alarm clock at home, and how those things work. They are done in more what is called text coding or lines of code. And so it's kind of like steps where one way of thinking at a young age leads to another that's a little more advanced and can lead to the one that is kind of the real world way that things are coded. Now, before we get into what we're going to do today and for the next couple of weeks, I just wanted to make the point. I'm going to make a comparison very quickly to art class. Now, Mrs. Farrell and art class are great, and everything about it is wonderful. But I'm gonna say there are probably some people where art class is not necessarily their favorite thing. Where they go, they do it, they may sometimes feel like they did a good job or sometimes feel like it's not for them, and they don't really enjoy it or think of themselves much as artists. However, you can still learn different things about art. There are other people who may be more interested in art or enjoy it or like it or feel that they're a little more talented or have a little more talent in it. And the comparison that I'm going to make is for those people, it's great to have art class in school and go to art class once a week and make a project and learn about art and techniques, but you most likely don't think of it as that's the only place or time that you can learn about art or create something artistically. You can go and have a sketchbook, go and have a coloring book, go and create things, create artwork, sculpt and paint and draw anytime in your life. I have seen kids in this school and other kids that they sit down and they create their own art. They look up YouTube tutorials and learn how to create things. And in that way of kind of learning it on your own, we are in such an amazing time in our world, in our society, where if you are somebody, now I'm making the comparison to more what I teach, if you're somebody who likes coding, who is interested in it, who wants to do it more, there are so many different things available, whether it be websites, whether it be apps on something like a tablet or a phone or a computer, whether it's smart toys like robots and things like that, where you can do it on your own time and when you want. Because I like teaching coding, I like making it part of my class, but just to do it for 40 minutes once a week for a certain number of weeks in a year, there's way more available, and I'm going to talk about that just for another couple of minutes and try to be brief. I have probably in my life, if I just did an estimate, I have probably tried out or used or learned from 100 different apps, websites, or ways to learn about computer programming and coding. I would say 100 is probably a reasonable number of what I've tried. And the way I feel is that I've barely tried any of them because there's so many. There's thousands of different ways. There's thousands of different resources and things available. And most of them, or I should say a lot of them, are completely free that you don't have to pay anything for. For instance, here's a great site right here where if you were more interested, it's called Grasshopper, and it's available as an app or just by going on the website. And for free, you could go onto this site and learn about more about coding on your own that is taught in more of a lines of code text-based way. One thing that I recommend, and I'm going to just go through a few of them very quickly, is kind of a blend of the two where you learn about text coding, writing lines of code, but then also see that and the results that it has in more of an app, more with like characters and a setting and actions that things do. And one of the best things that's ever been made for that is called Swift Playground, which is available on iPads, and MacBooks, and I don't believe it's available on iPhone or iPod, but pretty much any other Mac devices like MacBooks and iPads for free. Absolutely free. I've used it many, many times myself. That is a great resource because you learn a real programming language of Swift, which is a text-based coding language, and also see, and it starts off really, really simply and something that anybody can learn, and see the results of it in kind of like a video game or app format. For those that may not have access to an iPad or an Apple device, there is a great website that does something very similar that I have right here. And I'm going to put links to these in Weymouth Portal. It's from a website called Crunchzilla, and it's called Code Monster. I found this just recently within the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, and I have gone through it myself a bit, and I find it fantastic. And anybody can go on and do this for absolutely free. Actually, let me back up for a second because there are a couple of them. This one, Code Monster, is where I would start. And then if you get a little more advanced, there's Code Maven. And if you learn from those two and you complete them and you go through them and you're doing well and understand them and like them, there's Game Maven and Data Maven. And those are absolutely fantastic for kids that are your age and even as you go on a little bit older in like upper middle school and high school, to learn what real coding, what real writing real code is like. For those who may be advanced, and I can think of a couple people, a couple names that I feel like you have an interest on your own or want to learn more. Like I said, this world is amazing in what we have available today because you can go and get different software for free and find YouTube tutorials or resources on websites to learn any one of them. And I'm going to talk about two real quick. Microsoft puts out a Visual Code Studio for free, and you could download this on a Windows computer or a Mac, and it is a full coding resource where you can actually make programs, apps, things like that. Now, it's advanced. It is not something that you just pick up and start playing around with if you're not very familiar or don't know a lot. And if you did, you might find it very overwhelming. But if you went to a YouTube tutorial and typed in Visual Code Studio beginner tutorial, you could very quickly in an hour start learning the basics and then learn more and more and more and get more and more advanced in the same way I made the comparison before about somebody who might take a sketchbook and look at a YouTube tutorial on how to draw or how to make certain characters or do different art projects on their own time outside of art class in school. This would be more for people who are interested in building like apps or short programs to run on a computer. There is one last resource I'll mention for those people who really, really like this or thought that in their future they might do something, and that is Unity. Unity has been made to create full video games as well as other programs for iPads, phones, Xbox, and PlayStation. There are games, and I didn't pull this up ahead of time, but if I just typed in games made with Unity, there are full advanced games. I'm not talking about like a Flappy Bird or something like that, but Ori, Cuphead, Rust, Wasteland, Hitman, Go, Pokemon Go, Monument Valley, and you might Super Hot, which I didn't even realize before, Crossy Road, full uh, advanced video games, and I'm not talking about little simple flash games, but full video games that are made simply with this Unity tool that needs to be downloaded on a Windows computer or a Mac and has everything you need to completely create a video game, but a whole lot of knowledge that comes along with it. I've used it just a little myself to learn about it, but that you can find really everything you need for free out there to learn on your own from YouTube or other web resources, like I said. In any case, I've talked a lot, but for this last little bit, I'm not going to talk much at all. I'm going to make this pretty quick. Here is my idea or my plan for what we're going to do for our segment on coding and computer programming this school year. For today, I wanted to give you guys a little time and a little opportunity to go use the site code.org. Now, this is a site that you could go on every day, any time of the day, all month, all week, for the next 3 months, in the summer, anytime you want. And there's kind of two different ways to use it, or two main ways to use it that I'm going to explain in a second. But for this class, today is the only day I'm going to talk about it for middle school. Because moving on to next week, we are going to move on to the main website that we use for middle school and talking about coding, which is Scratch. And for those of you who have been in class with me before, we've used Scratch before. If it's new to you, it's no problem. We're going to learn about it and do a great job. But for today, it's the only day I'm going to mention code.org, but I encourage you to use it as much as you want. To get to it, you could type in code.org, and anybody in 5th through 8th grade is capable of doing that. I have links in Portal, and I want to show you them very quickly because um, it's broken up into a couple different ones. You see everything right here are entries for code.org. The last one says code.org main page. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But then there's also pages for each grade, and I'll explain the difference. If you go to code.org main page, you don't have to sign in or do anything else, but then you could go down a little bit. Oh, actually, I am signed in, so that displayed a little bit differently. But this is the main page, and you could go down just a little bit to where it says Learn at Home, Do an Hour of Code. And I clicked on Do an Hour of Code. And here, you may have seen before or tried these out before, you can go and try any of these resources. I'll just say some highlights in a second that give all basic instruction on coding, generally block coding or the concepts of programming and coding. Code Your Own Dance Party is one of the newer ones. It's one of the best ones that's ever been made. It's really fun. Lots of people like it. You go through a little tutorial that I think is like 10 levels long. And then they added a second one that's another tutorial with more advanced techniques. And then you have the option to have kind of like a free space where you can code it in any way you want. Explore Artificial Intelligence is probably their newest one. I'll be quite honest, I was, when I first saw it, hoping that it was going to be something really cool, and I was a little bit disappointed. It's really not what I would have hoped for or really as good as I would want. You're welcome to try it out. It's not one that I would really recommend. Minecraft. Minecraft and their hour of code is something that was one of the first really popular main things on code.org that kids really liked. It's not playing Minecraft, but it's based in the Minecraft world. I think they're up to three different varieties or levels of it that you can go in and you can um, go through the different tutorials there to work in the world of Minecraft. There is a Star Wars one, a Frozen one. You do have to know a little bit about angles, so if you know what a 90-degree angle, 45-degree angle, or others are, you need to know a little bit about that, but Frozen is perfectly fine. Sports, Flappy Code, these four here. The three at the bottom I probably would stay away from if you are more of a beginner. If you know about coding and you are really comfortable with it, you could do those. But they are definitely more advanced and would take a little bit more explanation. The other ones, pretty much everything from here up to the top, do a really great job of having everything right on the screen for you to try out, for you to learn from, for you to read and go through the different steps in the tutorials to learn everything that you need to complete those. And those are great things to do in kind of like a free play type environment. I was also going to mention that when you go and sign in, I'm going to pretend I'm a fifth grader, and if you clicked on your class, there is a course set up which all of you are enrolled for, where you would find your name, click on it, and then you got picture passwords on cards that were sent home. And when you do sign in, it goes through a course that you go step by step through, and it's like a lot of things in video games or in learning or in life, where you start off easy with really basic things and then get to more and more and more advanced. And this is the middle school course, so it is a little more advanced than if you did this with me in, say, third grade, fourth grade, and or even first grade, and did some of the really simplistic early ones that were for like younger kids. But you are welcome to use this and go through this as well. Like I said, this is the only day that I'm really going to mention code.org. I encourage you for the rest of the time that you have available, or any time today, or any time you feel like, to use this website because it's a great resource. You have the accounts, you have the hour of code kind of free play area where you can spend some time and really enjoy it and really like it. The very first time, this is what I'm going to end with today, the very first time, the first year that they had the um, let me get back to it in a second. The dance party coding. Before I ever looked at it with a class or had a class do it, I sat at home and I did it an older man with my younger daughter, where we looked at it together, and I thought it was just as fun and just as interesting, and enjoyed doing it myself. So, in any case, I hope you guys take some time with that today. You enjoy it, you explore this site, you use the different resources there, and next week we are going to move on to using the website Scratch, seeing if you are knowledgeable about Scratch, what we're going to do this year, learning some basics if you're not as familiar, and hopefully learning a lot and having a good time. All right, so have a great week, have a great day, and I will see you guys next time. If you do have any questions or issues, you could email me or message me in Google Classroom.